Welcome. This is the time for us to look at the front pages of our papers, and the first paper we're looking at this morning is the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Punch, we have Adamu's consensus plot fails. 21 aspirants in battle royale. 7 NWC members reject Lawan, Tinubu, Oshibajo, Fayemi, others woo delegates. Presidency rubbishes Tinubu's claim of helping Buhari win. Nnamani steps down. I won't impose anyone. Delegates will elect APC candidates, says Buhari. We've seen the back and forth in the camp of the APC, with some saying that the APC has chosen a consensus candidate and some others saying that's not true. We will be following up with this story. Of course, we will get to know what the real position is at the most by tomorrow. Still on the Owo massacre, survivors, victims, relatives groan as Can NGF protests. The details of that's on page 8. Crude oil exports jump by 194%, hit 5.6 trillion naira in 3 months. That's on page 18. And on the 24th page, varsity unions, federal government renegotiation panel sitting ends today. We hope that this births something positive, especially for the education sector and our Nigerian students. COVID-19, others delay aircraft acquisition for national carrier, says CEO on page 17. Now we can see a photograph there with people carrying placards, cardboard paper, or placards made from cardboard paper. Protesting workers shut down National Assembly. Lawmakers postpone resumption. That's on page 15. And still on the front page, Uni Abuja dismisses 2 professors over sexual harassment on page 11. We will still keep talking about stories like this until we no longer see where people who have a power advantage trying to sexually manipulate and extort those who are at a disadvantage. 3,135 candidates with high UTME scores denied admission, says JAM. Why? That's on page 13. Only 44% of Nigerians have access to smartphones, report on page 23. That's almost unbelievable. You would assume, with the way that the use of smartphones have become so popular, people have 2, 3. We're seeing here the report that says only 44% of Nigerians
have smartphones.
Yeah, would you have believed that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's still, a lot of people who have regular, cell phones that aren't necessarily smart. There's a large percentage of those, actually.
So are we talking about the smartphone as in the term smartphone?
Yeah, the term smartphone.
Not
yes,
mobile phone.
Not mobile phone. So there's, of course, a larger percentage of Nigerians who have mobile phones. But, with regards to smartphones, internet, enabled phones, it may not be that high.
Okay, we still have a long way to go. I mean, this shouldn't be so surprising. I hosted an event that was talking about financial inclusion, and I was shocked to see the margin of Nigerians who are not financially included, people who do not even have bank accounts, that still save in the traditional way with their piggy box or piggy boxes or under their beds. There's some states in the north where they will tell you that the distance from their house to the bank is ridiculously far. So rather than going to the bank, they would rather keep the money.
I think it's called a colo or coco.
Colo. Yeah, colo. That's a new word you've learned. Okay. That's the piggy box. 3 more stories here before I wrap it up. On page 3, Makinde contested PDP governorship primary alone, defeated himself, says Bolarumi aspirant. And on pages 4 and 5, Blessing teacher bags life imprisonment for impregnating 14-year-old people. Wow. These stories like this just make me so overwhelmingly sad. Final story on page 7, we see here, I didn't see PDP delegates list until the day of primary, says Dele Momodu. That's all that we're taking on the Punch. Joe has the next paper.
Quite shocking. You said a percentage of Nigerians do not have mobile devices. Well, I can also tell you that in Uganda, 47% do not have access to mobile devices. And when we talk about mobile devices, we're talking about the smartphones, just as Osawage had said. But I don't mean to sound quite different here, but I was thinking that if Uganda says 47%, Nigeria 44%, I would not agree to that. I'm thinking that Nigeria has a lot of more technologically, in quotes, savvy. I'm not trying to put Uganda on the bad spot, but of course, 44, 47.
I think it's also, important to look at the population difference. So we might seem that way, but because of our population, it's likely that we're 200 million people. I'm not sure exactly what the figure is for Uganda. Yeah. So So yes, it might be very, very true. It should be very true that we are at 44%, with regards the use of smartphones.
It's almost unbelievable, to be honest.
Yeah, it might be hard to believe, but look around you, really. Look around you. There's a lot of people who really just have those, I can't call the brand names, but those tiny phones that really just...
We call them the touchlight phones.
Exactly, exactly.
All right. Well, still talking about Uganda, let's take a look at the front page of the Daily Monitor this morning. And that Daily Monitor front page is indeed captivating because of the header there. It says, anger over luxury cars for speakers. Anger over luxury cars for speakers. Out of sync, a section of the public and politicians have called the 2.4 billion shillings expenditure extravagant, as it even emerged that Parliament has concluded plans to buy official residences for the Speaker and Deputy. The development comes as many Ugandans struggle against the rising cost of living. Page 6. If we're going to talk about this story, we're going to spend nothing more than about hours, 4, 5, 6 hours talk about this story, because it irks me, and I'm sure it also worries a lot of Africans when you have a lot of citizens living in plenary. They're actually struggling to feed, living below $1. And then you are actually going ahead to buy a house, a car. It's usually like that. It's quite synonymous and something you see in all African countries where those in parliament tend to earn big, they tend to eat fat, and also well taken care of. Well, they say because they make the decision, so they should be in a good form of shape and mind so they can actually take these decisions for the country. Well, let's move on away from that story and see another one. Still on Daily Monitor, BOU picks interest in Bitature's $10 million loan. What's this story all about? Well, it's got to do with the central bank, as they want to know if there are any risks to the banking sector from the high-profile debt war between the businessman and the South African firm. You might want to take a look at that story when you pick up the Daily Monitor. Let's run through some of the other stories you'll find inside. What Ugandans want government to address today. There will be a state of nation, by the way. Let me make this clear. There will be a state of nation today in Uganda. Of course, they're expecting President Yoweri Museveni to speak to them. And what the Ugandans are expecting Yoweri Museveni to address is actually what you find inside of page 4 and 5. I can only pick one of that. If I do recall, Ugandans are equally looking at providing jobs. Jobs is one key thing that they're expecting the president to address in the State of the Nation. Another one as well on page 3, repeat traffic offenders now to be taken to court. If you make a mistake at the first instance, you make another mistake, you will be taken to court as well. Passport printing back at full capacity. So if you're Ugandan, guess what? You can get your passports because it's back at full capacity. So that's a story. That's what I'm going to take on the front page of Daily Monitor. Sawage and of course Olive. One big story that stands out for me here on the front page of the Daily Monitor is the fact that they're looking at the state address. One key thing that everyone is indeed prepared for.
Yeah, pretty interesting, and we hope that it all turns out good. We, of course, have continued to talk about the elections and talk about, better governance in Africa, and these are some of the conversations that will continue to happen or continue to occur. It's just important that we all focus on what is important and, keep it that way, basically. All right. Let's move to the first news back here in Nigeria and see what we can share here. It says here, Cabal planning to give Tinubu MKO treatment. Fayose alleges. I read the letter that he wrote to Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday. A lot of people read it, and didn't, really understand what he was talking about. But if you read through properly, you'll get the message. Also, it says millions, not one person, made Buhari president. Presidency slams Tinubu. And also APC presidential primary, Namani withdraws, cites injustice against Southeast. APC primaries at Adamu's Consensus School fails as 21 presidential aspirants slug it out today. And also Ondo church attack aimed at causing war in Yoruba land, says the Oni. Says Oduduwa descendants can't be overrun. We have capacity to defend ourselves against external invaders. A few others, police nabbed 14 suspected cultists in Agege, recovered drugs. And I think Olive shared this story before. It says lesson teacher jailed for life for impregnating a 14-year-old pupil. That's actually good news and bad news. Ondo Church massacre, threat to Nigeria's existence. Gani Adams fumes. And the final one we have this morning, Owa terrorist attack. PDP slams APC and Buhari over silence and lame statements. Fayose governor condoles families of the victims. And also Governor Rotimi Akeredolu